How often do you feel like this guy in life, where the basket is life and you are this guy, leaping through the air, putting the ball in between your legs, and getting ready to dunk on life. And then life shocks and amazes you, fills you full of twists and turns. And then whereas once you were on top of it all and you had, everything going in the right way, life comes in to humble you, to clobber you, to throw a spanner in the works, as it were. And then all of a sudden you're this guy, just trying to get the ball back. Ah! Well, this is about the word grit. And the word grit might be one of the greatest words in the English language. If it could be said for us when we pass this mortal coil, this mortal plane, if one would say about us that we had true grit, that would be a pretty damn good compliment in my estimation. And grit usually sort of has this implication of pulling yourself up by your own bootstraps, having fortitude and strength in your own abilities, and overcoming, the trials and tribulations of the world with your own might. And I want to talk about a concept. I don't know if I invented it. It came to me today when I was writing it, but I'm sure I didn't, what's original really. But it's the idea of spiritual grit. So sort of combining spiritual aspects of our life with grit. What does it mean to have spiritual grit? And ironically, I think it might mean something like having the wisdom to know that in our own strength and in our own abilities, that we aren't as strong as we could be otherwise. That the strongest we can be is to have our strength coming from the source of presence or God. If you don't have a problem with the word God, then you can call it getting your strength from God. If you'd rather define it in more sort of new age spiritual terms, you could call it presence. To me, they equate to the same thing. But it's an acknowledgement that our strength really doesn't come from our egoic self. And I think a lot of times when life comes and throws us hurdles and stumbling blocks, our fear-based response is almost to increase our egoic efforts, increase the efforts of our mind's ideas, and sort of come from the center of fear, really. And I don't think this is really where true grit arises from. I think true grit arises from getting into those states where our faith is tested and sort of bolstering our faith through a practice of presence and coming into our center and maybe saying a prayer for wisdom, asking for strength and courage so that, we can get back to dunking on life. Dunking in the game of life. Let me see what I wrote here. Let me see if it works. Resistance training and the importance of grit. Lifting weights builds our muscle. We seek resistance in the gym and wouldn't go there at all if the plates were just made of feathers and dust. Or to put it another way, we know resistance is a good thing where the gym is concerned. But in life or creative pursuits, we tend to forget all about the benefits of resistance, the hurdles and challenges and seemingly impossible walls which can dismantle our goals and dreams if we don't allow them to guide us into spiritual grit. So we know in terms of being at the gym that resistance is what we're here for. But in life, when resistance really comes in, especially when we have all these goals and hopes and dreams, and even if we are sort of centered in spirituality and faith, it can seem like we become abandoned by God or abandoned by spirit, and that's when our faith is truly tested. It can feel almost like we've been abandoned, but really I believe the spiritual forces at work or God puts us in these positions where we're sort of left on our own devices in a similar way to being at the spiritual gym or being at the gym. He's putting weights on the bar and he's trying to help us build our faith. So rather than see it as a punishment or being abandoned, it's God being our personal trainer in the gym called spiritual grit. Two words, spiritual grit, two words that perhaps seem to oppose one another on a level. Spiritual being ethereal and grit being earthbound strength of one who digs deep on their own volition. But spiritual grit is one who overcomes the resistance of the world through a practice of presence and seeking strength outside of his own to overcome the seemingly impossible challenges life often presents. Ultimately, real grit isn't doing all the heavy lifting using your own strength or applying tons of fear-based energy towards a problem and riding a wave of anxiety and panic when life has you shaking in your little boots, but rather doing breath work and seeking presence and asking to be guided and led, a prayer for wisdom, a prayer for strength, and a prayer for faith. So yeah, if you have spiritual practices in place, such as breath work, these things we need to dig deeper into when life gets heavy. It's good if we have a toolbox at the ready, so when we feel our faith is being challenged and tested, we know that there's these go-to practices that we have. And having an acknowledgement that a spiritual source for strength and guidance is there to help us overcome. Just like Rocky needed Mick to fight Apollo Creed, we all have an internal Mick that is the source of all things we must turn to when the bell rings in the real fights of our lives. That's spiritual grit. Even when it seems we've been abandoned or our blessings are far away. It's in those times that our faith is being tested, and it's in those times that our faith must and will and can be strengthened through the resistance that we face. When we look at life in those times as a spiritual gymnasium, converting us into spiritual warriors we were put here to become, we do a lot better. So yeah, look at it all as a big spiritual test. We are here, after all, to be tested. This is a big spiritual training ground. Let's get back to dunking on life and accessing our spiritual grit.